Welcome to my channel. Today we're diving deep into a topic that might completely reframe how you think about New Mexico. Floods. You probably picture vast deserts, right? Dry riverbeds, endless sunshine. But the reality is this state actually faces some of the most sudden, powerful, and, well, dangerous flood risks out there. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is basically to give you a shortcut to being well-informed. We want to give you some surprising facts and essential insights on, what to do before, during, and after a flood emergency right here in New Mexico. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources, everything from official safety guides to some pretty stark real-world accounts, just to give you the clearest, most actionable picture possible. It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? When you imagine New Mexico, your mind likely goes straight to arid landscapes. So how does a place known for its dryness suddenly become so susceptible to these, devastating floods? What makes this state so uniquely vulnerable?
That's a really excellent question, and it's key to understanding the danger here. What's truly fascinating, maybe even a little scary, is that flash floods are actually New Mexico's most common natural disaster.
Wow, most common, really?
Yes, and they can strike with virtually no warning. And here's the kicker. It could be perfectly sunny right where you are, but heavy rain falling maybe miles away in distant mountains can unleash this torrent that just races towards your location.
Okay, so distance doesn't mean safety.
Not at all. And speed and power are, frankly, terrifying. Water rushing through arroyos, those dry riverbeds you might casually walk through. That water can reach speeds of up to 40 miles per hour. Escape is pretty much impossible if you're caught in their path.
40 miles an hour in a dry riverbed.
Exactly. And it's not just arroyos. Even those seemingly innocent irrigation ditches, you see them all over the state. They hide powerful undertows, really slippery mud, and all sorts of unseen debris. And what makes it even more dangerous, something we really need to understand, is that even a tiny amount of rain, like a quarter inch, falling over an area recently burned by wildfire, what we call a burn scar, that can trigger significant, devastating flooding.
A quarter inch? That's barely anything.
It's shocking, isn't it? We saw this tragic reality play out with the July 8th, 2025 Ruidoso flash flood. Just 3.5 inches of rain, but it fell over just 90 minutes. That caused the Rio Ruidoso to rise an astounding 20 feet above its normal level.
20 feet in 90 minutes.
20 feet. It resulted in 3 fatalities, houses were destroyed, and even 8 horses were lost at the racetrack. It was just a stark, painful example of that direct, catastrophic link between heavy rainfall and those really vulnerable burn scar areas.
Wow, 20 feet in 90 minutes. That's just... It's hard to even imagine. So it's not just about the amount of rain, is it? It's crucially about where that rain falls and how the land, especially if it's been burned, reacts. This really challenges our typical ideas about floods, I think. It forces us to think differently about how prepared we need to be. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Being prepared is absolutely essential, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Knowing what to do before a flood can truly make all the difference. It can save lives and minimize damage.
Okay, so where do we start? What's step 1?
Step 1 is definitely assembling a well-stocked emergency supply kit. Think of it as your survival lifeline, really. You need enough essentials for at least 3 days per person, and please don't forget your pets. They need supplies too.
Right, 3 days minimum. What goes in it?
Okay, prioritize water that's 1 gallon per person per day, and non-perishable food, enough for several days. Canned goods, protein bars, things like that. And here's a small but mighty tip. Always include a manual can opener. Don't rely on electric.
Good point. What about safety stuff?
For safety, a battery-powered, or even better, a hand-crank radio is incredibly important. Specifically, get a NOAA weather radio with a tone alert. That gives you direct alerts even if cell towers or power lines are down. Also, a good flashlight, plenty of extra batteries, a first aid kit, and of course your cell phone with chargers and maybe a backup battery bank.
Got it. Radio, flashlight, first aid, phone power.
Yes. And don't forget things like moist towels for sanitation, garbage bags, maybe a wrench or pliers to turn off utilities if needed. A dust mask can be useful too. Also think about a complete change of clothing, sturdy shoes, blankets, or sleeping bags. Prescription medications have at least a 7-day supply. Infant formula, diapers if you need them, pet supplies.
Okay, that's comprehensive. What about documents?
Crucial. Copies of important documents, insurance policies, IDs, medical info, keep them in a waterproof container or bag. Have some cash or traveler's checks because ATMs and credit card machines might not work. And local maps too.
Makes sense. So, kit first. What's next?
Beyond the kit, developing a comprehensive family emergency plan is vital, and every family member should be involved, even kids. Everyone needs to understand their roles and know what to do.
A plan for the whole family. What does that look like?
Well, you need 2 clear evacuation plans. One for escaping your home and another for getting out of your neighborhood safely. Identify multiple alternative destinations, maybe friends or family in different directions, just in case one route is blocked. Designate an out-of-area relative or friend as a family contact everyone can check in with if you get separated. And establish a clear meeting place.
Okay, multiple routes, out-of-area contact, meeting place. What about pets? You mentioned them for the kit.
Yes, absolutely crucial. Have a specific action plan for your pets, because most public shelters only accommodate service animals. Know where you can take them in an emergency.
Good reminder. And safety inside the home itself.
Right. Identify the safest locations in your house during different emergencies. Know 2 escape routes from every single room. And make sure your smoke detectors are working. Test them monthly. Have a fire extinguisher and know how to use it.
Practice makes perfect, right? Drills.
Definitely. Conduct fire and flooding drills regularly, maybe monthly. It helps everyone react quickly without thinking.
Oh, and one more thing. If you have family members with special needs, elderly, bedridden, disabilities, inform your local authorities or fire department beforehand. They might need that information in an emergency.
That's a really important point. Okay, Kit, plan. What about warnings? How do we actually know a flood is coming?
Understanding and receiving alerts is another critical layer. There are several systems. You've got wireless emergency alerts, or WEA. These are automatic messages sent to WEA-capable phones. You don't need to sign up, and they work even if networks are congested.
Okay, WEA, that's automatic on most phones now. On most newer phones, yes. Then there's the Emergency Alert System, EAS. That delivers alerts through traditional AM/FM radio, satellite radio, and TV. And as I mentioned, NOAA Weather Radio provides continuous, direct alerts straight from the National Weather Service. It's very reliable.
So multiple ways to get the word.
Yes, but here's a pro tip. Many counties and cities in New Mexico offer their own opt-in systems for more localized alerts. Think Coda Red for Lincoln County or Everbridge for Bernalillo County and Albuquerque. You should definitely check your phone settings to make sure WEA is enabled, but then also sign up for your local systems. That gives you really targeted, immediate information for your specific area. The FEMA app is another great tool for real-time alerts and shelter info.
Okay, check settings, sign up locally. Got it. Now, what about protecting our actual property, our homes?
Right, protecting your property. This is huge. A surprising truth many people miss is that standard homeowners or renters insurance typically does not cover flood damage.
That's huge. So your regular policy won't help.
Generally, no. You need a separate flood insurance policy. And here's a really critical detail. There's usually a 30-day waiting period before a new policy becomes effective.
30 days. Wow.
Yeah, so waiting until a storm is brewing means it's already too late for coverage for that event. You have to plan ahead. The National Flood Insurance Program, the NFIP, offers policies. They can provide pretty substantial coverage, like up to $250,000 for a residential structure and $100,000 for contents.
Okay, separate policy, 30-day wait. Crucial info. What else can people do physically to their homes?
For physical mitigation, think elevation. Move valuables, electronics, important documents to higher floors or levels if possible. Keep your drains and gutters clear. Make sure your downspouts extend well away from your foundation, at least a couple of meters, maybe 6 feet or so. You can install things like check valves and sewer lines to prevent backups. Consider a sump pump with a battery backup if you have a basement or crawl space.
Battery backup is key there, I guess.
Absolutely, power often goes out. Elevate or flood-proof your essential utilities, your HVAC system, electrical panels, water heater. If you're building or renovating, use flood-resistant materials below the expected flood level. Things like concrete, steel, pressure-treated wood, certain tiles, closed-cell foam insulation, and maybe install flood vents in foundation wall to let water pass through instead of building up pressure. Having sandbags, maybe some temporary doorway flood barriers on hand, can also help for minor flooding.
That 30-day waiting period for flood insurance is just, it feels like a huge hidden trap, doesn't it? It means if you wait until you see that forecast of heavy rain, you're out of time for coverage. What's maybe the biggest misconception you've encountered about flood insurance? And what's the one piece of advice you wish every homeowner in New Mexico would really understand about it?
Yeah, the waiting period catches so many people. The biggest misconception is definitely that standard home insurance covers flood damage. It just flat out doesn't. In almost all cases. My advice is simple. If you live in New Mexico, even if you think you're not in a high-risk zone, investigate flood insurance now. Talk to your insurance agent. Understand your options. Don't wait until the storm clouds gather. It's a separate product, a separate decision you need to make proactively.
Proactive, not reactive. Okay, so let's shift gears. The warning is out. The water's actually rising. What's the absolute first thing you should do when facing active floodwaters? Your life might depend on this decision.
The absolute first thing. If you are called to evacuate by authorities, do it immediately. Don't hesitate. And never, ever drive around barricades. They are there for a critical reason to direct traffic safely away from known danger zones like washed out roads or flooded areas.
Evacuate immediately if told. Don't ignore warnings or barricades.
Exactly. If you're evacuating by car, try to fill your gas tank beforehand if there's time, and make sure your car emergency kit is ready to go. Use only one car per family if possible. That helps reduce traffic congestion, which can be a nightmare during evacuations. And always stick to the designated evacuation routes. Avoid shortcuts, they could be flooded or blocked.
Right. Stick to the plan. What if you have a few moments before leaving?
If time permits, quickly inform your out-of-state contact where you're going. Close and lock your doors and windows. Unplug non-essential electronics. And, only if advised by officials, shut off water, gas, and electricity at the main switches or valves. But again, safety first, don't do this if it puts you at risk. And remember that pet plan we talked about. Know where you're taking them. Identify potential pet-friendly shelters or arrangements in advance.
Okay, evacuate smart, communicate secure things if safe. Now, the water itself.
This is where that key phrase comes in, and it cannot be stressed enough. Turn around, don't drown.
Turn around, don't drown. We hear it a lot, but what does it really mean in practice?
It means never, under any circumstances, walk, swim, or attempt to drive through floodwaters. Period. It takes just 6 inches of moving water to knock an adult off their feet. 6 inches.
Just 6 inches, wow.
12 inches, just a foot of moving water can sweep away a small car. 2 feet can float most vehicles, including SUVs and trucks. The depth of the water is incredibly deceptive. You just can't tell how deep it is or what's underneath. The road could be completely washed out below the surface.
And the water itself is dangerous too, right? Not just the force.
Absolutely. Floodwater is often highly contaminated.
Okay.
Sewage, chemicals, pesticides, fuel, sharp debris like broken glass or metal. It's a toxic soup. Plus, it can be electrically charged by downed or submerged power lines. You can't see that danger.
So stay out of it completely. What about specific areas like arroyos?
Stay completely away from arroyos, ditches, and acequias, those irrigation canals. They fill incredibly fast and become raging rivers. Avoid standing on or crossing bridges over fast-moving water. The structure could be undermined and could collapse without warning. Treat any flooded road as impassable. Assume it's hiding damage. And be extremely cautious in those burn scar areas we discussed. Even a few minutes of rain there can trigger violent mud and debris flows with little warning.
And nighttime must be even worse.
Much worse. Exercise even greater caution at night. Visibility is low, and you simply can't see the hidden dangers lurking beneath the water or the debris flowing within it.
Okay, what if the worst happens? What if, despite everything, you get swept away?
If you are swept away, try immediately to float on your back with your feet pointed downstream. This helps protect your head and body from hitting debris head on. Keep looking for opportunities to grab onto something stable, like a tree you're building, or try to work your way towards the edge of the moving water, towards higher ground. But don't exhaust yourself fighting strong currents directly.
Feet first, look for an escape. Got it. You mentioned vehicles being really dangerous.
Yes, tragically, most flood-related fatalities occur in vehicles. People underestimate the power of water and overestimate their vehicle's ability. So again, rule number 1, never drive through floodwaters. If your car becomes trapped in rapidly moving water, the advice is usually to remain inside initially. Don't panic.
Stay inside. Why?
Because getting out might immediately put you into faster, deeper water. However, if water starts to rise inside the car, then you need to get out and move to the roof.
Okay. Roof, if water's rising inside, what if the car stalls?
If the vehicle stalls in floodwater, abandon it immediately if you can safely move to higher ground. Don't wait inside hoping it will restart or that the water will recede. Cars can be swept away in seconds. If the doors are stuck because of the water pressure outside, try to exit through the windows. Break one if you have to.
Get out quickly if it stalls. Okay. What about utilities at home? Shutting things off.
Knowing how to safely shut off utilities is important, but this comes with a huge safety warning. Never, ever step into a flooded area if water might be in contact with electrical outlets, appliances, or cords. The risk of electrocution is severe.
So if the basement's flooded near the breaker box...
Don't go near it. Do not attempt to turn off power at the breaker box if you have to stand in water to do it. Call the electric company immediately and let them handle it remotely if possible.
Okay, safety first. What if it is safe to access?
If it is safe, the recommended way to turn off power is to first turn off the individual circuit breakers, then shut off the main breaker. Gas should only be shut off if you actually suspect a leak. You smell gas, hear a hissing sound, or see a broken line. Don't just turn it off routinely unless advised.
And how do you turn off the gas if needed?
You usually need a wrench. Find the shut-off valve on the pipe leading to the meter. It's typically a lever. Turn the lever a quarter turn so it's horizontal or crosswise to the pipe. And this is crucial. Never attempt to turn the gas back on yourself. Only the utility companies should do that after they've checked for safety.
Only the utility company turns gas back on. Got it. Water.
Water is usually simpler. Locate your main water shut-off valve. It could be a lever, a round handle like an outdoor faucet, or a knob. Turn it clockwise or to the off position. Generally, there's no harm in shutting off the main water supply for extended periods during a flood. But always remember, personal safety takes absolute precedence over protecting property. Don't risk your life to save your stuff or turn off a utility.
Absolutely. What if you're trapped inside a building by rising water?
If you find yourself trapped in a building, move to the highest possible level. Go up, not out into the water. But do not climb into a closed attic unless there's a clear way out onto the roof. You could get trapped there by rising water.
Okay, highest level, but avoid closed attics. What if you have to go to the roof?
Only go onto the roof if absolutely necessary as a last resort, and then signal for help. Wave a sheet, use a flashlight, anything to attract attention. Inside the house, avoid touching floodwater. Remember, it might be electrically charged or heavily contaminated.
Right. And who do you call?
For immediate life or death emergencies, always call 911. For non-emergency help, maybe you need information about shelters, food, or other assistance. Dial 211. That connects you to community resources. Or you can call 1-800-RED CROSS for shelter information.
911 for emergencies, 211 for help. What about contacting family?
Use text messages if possible to update family or neighbors. Texts often get through when voice calls won't because they use much less network bandwidth. Keep messages brief and to the point.
That's a powerful and vital breakdown. It really emphasizes that in the moment of a flood, personal safety isn't just a priority, it's the only priority. Even overprotecting your property. It's a hard truth, maybe, but an essential one to remember. What's fascinating here is, okay, the immediate danger passes, the water starts to go down, but the work doesn't stop there, does it? The aftermath of a flood brings its own whole set of critical steps for safety and recovery, some of which people might not even consider until they're directly facing them.
That's very true. The recovery phase is complex and has its own dangers. First, only return home when authorities officially declare it safe to do so. Don't rush back. If possible, try to return during daylight hours so you can see potential hazards more clearly.
Good tip. What's the first check when you get there?
Before you even go inside, if you smell gas or hear a hissing sound, get out immediately and notify the gas company from a safe distance. Do not enter the building. And critically, you absolutely must have a qualified electrician inspect your electrical system before you turn the power back on. Even if it looks okay, there could be hidden water damage that creates a fire or electrocution risk.
Electrician first. Got it. Driving around.
Limit driving if you can. Roads might still be blocked. Bridges could be unsafe, and there could be hidden dangers like sinkholes covered by mud.
Yeah.
Emergency crews also need clear roads.
Okay, so getting back home safely is step one. What about the hazards inside and during cleanup?
Right, health and safety during cleanup. First, avoid wading in any standing floodwater. Remember, it's likely contaminated with sewage, chemicals, bacteria, and there's still that risk of electrocution from downed or hidden power lines. Always wear protective gear, heavy work gloves, protective clothing like long sleeves and pants, sturdy waterproof boots, and importantly, masks or respirators. Flood cleanup stirs up mold spores and contaminated dust.
Masks are key then, especially with mold.
Absolutely. Individuals with asthma, allergies, or compromised immune systems should try to avoid buildings with mold damage altogether if possible. Mold can cause serious health problems. Also, be aware that snakes, rodents, and other animals might have sought refuge in your house from the floodwaters. Be cautious when moving debris.
Snakes. Okay, didn't think of that. Generators.
If you're using a generator for power, only operate it outdoors and well away from windows, doors, and vents to prevent deadly carbon monoxide poisoning. Keep it elevated above potential standing water if necessary.
Outdoors only for generators. Crucial. Now, the damage itself. Insurance claims.
Documenting damage and handling insurance claims is absolutely paramount for your financial recovery. This needs to be one of your top priorities once it's safe. Yeah. Before you start any cleanup or repairs, photograph or videotape everything. Get detailed shots of the damage to your home structure and all your damaged belongings. The more documentation, the better.
Pictures first, cleanup later.
See, exactly. Maintain a detailed list of all damaged or lost items. Keep receipts for any cleanup expenses, like renting equipment or buying supplies. Contact your insurance company, both your flood insurance provider and your homeowner's insurance provider, just in case immediately to report the claim.
What about throwing things out?
Don't discard damaged items until your insurance adjuster has seen them, unless they are a clear health hazard, like rotting food. If you must discard something hazardous, photograph it extensively first. Maybe even keep a small sample if possible, like a piece of damaged carpet. Also, be aware that government agencies often conduct preliminary damage assessments, or PDAs, to understand the scope of the disaster and prioritize recovery efforts. Cooperate with them.
And dealing with the insurance company. Any tips?
You can request a partial payment or an advance from your insurance adjuster to help cover immediate needs like temporary housing or essential purchases. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you're applying for FEMA assistance and you disagree with their decision, you have the right to appeal within 60 days. Keep good records to support your appeal.
Okay, document everything, contact insurers quickly, appeal if needed. What about basic needs like food and medical supplies right after?
Accessing essential resources is critical. We saw organizations like Convoy of Hope play a really pivotal role in Ruidoso after those floods. They delivered food, water, hygiene kits, cleaning materials directly to hundreds of damaged homes.
That's amazing support.
It is. But it's also true that while these groups are incredibly effective for short-term needs, their capacity can sometimes be limited for prolonged support, especially in New Mexico's many rural areas. About 90% of New Mexico's rural census tracts face what are called environmental justice burdens, often meaning they have fewer resources and infrastructure to begin with, making recovery harder.
So rural areas face bigger challenges.
Often, yes. Pharmacies and medical providers are crucial for prescriptions and care, but rural areas can face greater difficulties accessing emergency deliveries of medical supplies after a disaster. Telemedicine services are actually showing a lot of promise here, helping to bridge those gaps in New Mexico's predominantly rural geography, allowing people to consult doctors remotely when travel is hard.
Telemedicine, interesting solution. What about the wider economic ripple effects?
We saw those clearly in Ruidoso too. The cancellation of the Ruidoso Downs racetrack season, for instance, wasn't just about the tragic loss of those 8 horses. It had cascading effects on many livelihoods: trainers, vendors, seasonal workers, local businesses. The agricultural sector statewide also suffered extensive losses from various flooding events, sometimes estimated at over $60 million combined in agriculture and tourism impacts. NGOs, like Convoy of Hope again, did help stabilize some livelihoods with direct aid. But it highlights the interconnectedness. Some policy recommendations coming out of these events included things like creating more centralized communication platforms during disasters, investing more in rural healthcare infrastructure before disasters hit, fostering public-private collaborations, and even incorporating traditional indigenous knowledge systems about water management.
So it's about building resilience across the board. What about government support? What programs are out there?
There are various government and community support systems. At the state level, New Mexico has programs like the Home Rehabilitation Program. This provides financial help for essential, non-luxury repairs for low-income households impacted by disasters. Over $3 million was allocated there recently.
And federal help.
FEMA. Yes, federal assistance primarily comes through FEMA's Individual Assistance, or IA, program. This can provide direct financial aid for things like rental assistance, essential home repairs, temporary lodging. But it's really important for people to understand. FEMA assistance does not duplicate what insurance covers. If you have insurance, you have to file a claim first. And FEMA grants are meant to cover basic, essential needs to make a home safe and habitable, not return it to its pre-disaster conditions.
So it helps, but it's not a replacement for insurance.
Exactly. After the Ruidoso floods, Governor Lujan Grisham's emergency declaration was key because it mobilized these federal resources, including FEMA public assistance for infrastructure and individual assistance for residents. It also established an economic recovery task force to help affected sectors.
What about community-level funding?
There's also funding like community development block grants for disaster recovery. CDBG-DR New Mexico received significant amounts, like $137 million total recently. A large chunk, maybe $100 million, was targeted for a home recovery program, helping with housing rehab, reconstruction, even elevation. Another $27 million went to a post-disaster infrastructure investment program for things like roads, bridges, and crucially in New Mexico, acequias.
Sequias, right, the traditional irrigation ditches.
Yes, they're vital infrastructure. But even with these large funding amounts, systemic inefficiencies can persist. Sometimes local governments lack the funding or technical capacity to manage these complex recovery projects effectively, which can unfortunately lead to significant uncovered costs for the community.
Wow.
We saw examples where estimated damages far exceeded the aid received.
So funding is there, but getting it used effectively can be a challenge.
Can be. And that's where nonprofit organizations and volunteer groups become absolutely pivotal. We mentioned Convoy of Hope, but also the American Red Cross providing shelters, meals, emotional support. They rely heavily on volunteers. Collaboration is also key, like working with indigenous communities. Groups like the Tribal Water Working Group promote culturally sensitive approaches to water management and disaster response, which is essential in New Mexico. Things like mutual aid networks, neighbors, helping neighbors, and public awareness campaigns that leverage firsthand narratives, like maybe Instagram stories from survivors sharing their experiences. Those are crucial for outreach and education too.
How do people find out if they are in a high-risk zone?
FEMA provides detailed maps and tools like their available flood hazard information or AFHI tables. You can also look up your address online to see your specific flood risk zone. And remember those federal grants we mentioned. Some recent ones funded through the ARPA Act have specifically targeted connectivity grants to help address the digital divide in disaster-prone areas. The goal is to help ensure real-time information and warnings can reach everyone, even in rural areas with limited internet.
So improving communication infrastructure is part of resilience.
Definitely. And we see social media platforms being used effectively, like Convoy of Hope using Instagram to combine emotional storytelling with really practical, actionable guidance. Local news outlets like Co88 here are vital for disseminating timely info. And state initiatives like New Mexico's 50-year Water Action Plan often include public education campaigns.
Okay, if we try to connect all these threads, it seems really clear that resilience against floods in New Mexico isn't just about one thing, like having a kit. It's this interconnected web, isn't it? It's personal preparedness, plus those robust community alert systems, plus strong governmental and nonprofit support networks. True safety and effective recovery really seem to come from every single piece of that puzzle working together.
That's perfectly put. This deep dive really shows us that preparedness isn't, a one-time checklist you complete. It's an ongoing process. Regular practice of your plan, updating your kits periodically, staying informed about local risks and warning systems. These are all vital for building true lasting resilience against New Mexico's unique flood challenges.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, beyond just maybe putting together that emergency kit, which is super important, do that. Maybe take a moment to consider your personal flood risk where you live or work. Think about your community's specific vulnerabilities and look into how you can actively engage with the resources that are available, whether it's signing up for local alerts or knowing which organizations help after a disaster. It really is about being proactive, staying connected, and understanding that you are a crucial part of the safety net, both for yourself and for your community. So what stands out to you from today's deep dive? What maybe surprised you the most about flood risks here in New Mexico? Or perhaps what specific steps are you planning to take next based on what you've learned today? We genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Leave your comments below and let us know. We really enjoy hearing from our community.